So I'm not going to make this a super long video. I have to show some of this stuff and how not to or why not to do some modifications. I guess it should be how not to do them. So this radio was sent in for, it had a crackling, popping type noise in AM receive only, and it would show on the meter. Could peg the needle even. And customer wanted a transceiver alignment done. Now this thing has had a lot of modifications done to it. That's a channel switch, that's a channel switch, that's a channel switch, that's a channel switch, and 10kc depending what position you have it in. You'll notice there's a double control here. This would normally be a mic gain. It's now a dual dimmer. Don't ask. Yeah, and the values are, yeah, they just use the wrong value potentiometers, because the one, like for the meter light here, you turn it like this much and it goes from full brightness to it's off. I mean, almost no range. The other one's for the channel display. It's not much better. Volume and squelch are still the same. This used to be a double pot. Used to be your RF gain and SWR calibrate. It's now, what the hell is that? That's the variable power for AM only. Mode switch, clarifier, they're still the same. And the noise blanker switch is still the same. But you'll see there's a toggle switch sticking out the side. So that is for this Roger beat board in here. Yeah, I could spend well over a day in this radio. It's rough. I mean, plastic bags, come on people. No wire tie. It's just, man, there's hacked, cut off wires. I mean, you can see that one there. That's actually not just a wire. That's actually for a coil that should go to the microphone jack. There's just snipped off wires everywhere in this thing. So the actual problem it had was the noise in the AM receive. I had told the customer there's a good chance that it could be a ceramic filter, and that's what it was. The little black box, right there. So it's got a new ceramic filter installed. That actually, there was that and the corrosive glue in here. I guess a combination of both, but there was glue on both sides here. A lot of corroded components, and the filter, you just tap on it, you could hear noise. So that's been replaced. I actually had to replace a few components down around it because the diode was, it's actually the lead broke off of it. That resistor, actually this poly cap right here, they've been replaced. But yeah, this thing is just full of corrosive glue. You could easily spend an hour or more in this thing just on the glue alone, because it is bad. I mean, it's been let go way, way, way too long. It's horribly dark, hard, and it is conductive. You can actually, it's so conductive, you can actually, I don't know if you can see, let me get my little flashlight here. When I was doing the alignment on this thing, you can actually touch the top of this glue right here, because there's a resistor right there. There's normally an exposed lead, and that's where you would probe for your VCO voltage, to adjust the VCO voltage. You can actually just touch the glue and get like 1.5, I mean, it varies where you touch it on the glue, but like 1.5 to 1.8 volts on the glue. Yeah, so, when I was doing the alignment, and I'll show before I put this cover on and flip it over to show the what not to do. There's a new crystal in here. This is a 11.32, what the hell is that? 11.3258 megahertz crystal. Originally, this had an 11.325. So this crystal is 8 kilohertz higher in frequency than what should be in the radio. But that's the only way I could get it aligned. With the crystal that was in it and the modifications, excuse me, the way they're done in this thing, it was with the clarifier, and that was another thing. it had almost no range in one direction because they had taken the knob off. I guess they tried to get it centered, had, and taken the knob off and stuck it back on a different location. It had a huge amount of turning in one direction and only maybe a 16th or a 32nd of a turn in one direction, where the other in the other opposite direction, it came around like 95% of the range was on 90 to 95% was on one side of it, and maybe 5 or 10% of range in the other direction. And I put the knob on the way it should be, so it's centered in the rotation, and yet you just couldn't get it into alignment. This core bottomed out, and this one almost bottomed out. So you couldn't get the upper or lower side bands into alignment with the cores touching the bottom of touching the circuit board. They'd actually, the cores are protruding out the bottom of the coils, and this one was almost at the bottom of rotation. So luckily I have a lot of 11.3258 megahertz crystals, so I was able to bring it into alignment. So now the cores are, if you can see, they're about centered in their travel, which is where it should be. But yeah, I could just gab or yammer on for an hour on the stuff on the top side of this thing. Like I said, you could do a lot of work to this radio. But the frequency problem I had trying to do the alignment, doing alignment, I can't let it go with the frequency off 4 to 8 megahertz. I mean, depending where you put the knob on the control. And all of that was caused by, there's another plastic bag. And no, it's not a spare crystal. Someone didn't stick this in here to hold that crystal in there so it wouldn't get lost. That is a part of the channel modification. So, yes, someone has... God, you're left almost speechless when you see shit like this. Really? I mean... I just... Woo! Where do you start? Yeah, just a crystal tacked on long wire leads. Yeah, a capacitor, and I mean, soldering. Yeah, we won't even get into that. But just really, just a crystal, just bodged on with some long wires. Now you have to realize these wires come over. This is where the crystal on the other side of the board, that one that I had to replace. That's what this is attached to right here, because they're switching this crystal in and out of circuit, and they're replacing it with this crystal. So, and this was the problem. You've got all of these wires attached to this crystal then. Even if you take this crystal out, all of these wires, well, when you put two wires beside each other, they act just like a capacitor. Depending on how long they are and how far apart they are from each other, that is a capacitor. I mean, shoot, I even have little test capacitors here I use. Grab one. That's all these are. Just a loop here and an alligator clip on the other end. The wires are not actually, that's not one piece of wire. That's two separate wires, just twisted together. The ends are open. They're not attached. That's a capacitor. I use that as a coupling cap when I'm doing tests on high voltage circuits, when I need to inject a signal or something into a circuit. I can just clip this on, attach the signal generator here, and there's no electrical contact, between this wire and this wire over here. The wires are the capacitor. Well, same thing here. And it had this thing so horribly thrown out of range. But this is not how to do a channel mod. I mean, wow. And this has to be, you just bump this radio, push the cover a little bit, the frequencies change. Because wires moving, that's part of their variable power there. And, of course, all these wires, this is for the channel, the switch mod. But, yeah, don't do stuff like this, people. That's basically what this video is. You can't just hack crystals and other components into circuits like this and expect to have any stability whatsoever. Yeah, stability is not this radio's name now at all. The way this thing has been done, it's, do the alignment, but breathe on the radio and your frequencies are going to change. So, yeah. Much better ways to do channel. Actually, I can reach around here and grab one. Yeah. there's much better ways to do channel mods nowadays. If you want to do channel mods and get a shitload of channels, you stick a board like this in. This board can do way more channels than this radio could ever hope to do. But yeah, so when you're doing channel modification, the switch mods are one thing. Cutting traces to a PLL and installing switches. Now, even those aren't done right. They don't have. There's no resistors in there to draw it high or low. But yeah, the crystal. Yeah, that's wrong. I don't know what else to say other than, man, that's just wrong. Asking for problems, frequency-wise. So the crystal, like I say, it'll look like I have crystals here that are 8 kilohertz higher than what's supposed to be in here, and an 8 kilohertz higher crystal just worked out perfect. It brought brought the frequency right back centered, with the clarifier centered. All of the, mode adjustments there for the, frequency calibration. It brought everything right back in, but yeah, don't attach crystals with long wires and components. You just end up with all that stray capacitance and inductance. There's so much going on there. It's just, it's going to completely horribly throw that circuit out of balance. So there's a don't don't do it.